If you had told me that at 80 years old I'd be sitting on my couch, cheeks flushed like a teenager, watching Netflix with my first love, I would have laughed you out of my kitchen. And yet, that one ordinary evening, one click on a show, one shared blanket, and one familiar pair of eyes beside me, brought back a whole lifetime I thought I'd locked away for good. What started as just a visit turned into the night that made me question everything I thought I knew about aging, love, and second chances. Anyway, my name is Kayla, and I'm 80 years old. This story starts on a Tuesday that looked as ordinary as any other. The light in my living room was soft and yellow, the way it always is around 7 in the evening. The TV was on, the Netflix red logo glowing on the screen. The truth is, I don't always understand these streaming things, and sometimes the buttons blur together. Tonight, though, I was restless. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. The name on the screen made my heart stop. Justin. If you're around my age, you know there are some names that don't belong to the present at all. They belong to a girl who still had dreams stuffed in her pockets instead of receipts for medications. Justin was one of those names. I stared at the screen long enough for the call to end. My hand was shaking just a little. I took a breath and tapped to call him back. Kayla, he answered on the first ring, his voice low, warm, and rough around the edges. Justin, I said, and for a moment that was all. I was just driving by your street and I thought maybe I'd say hello. I'm outside, he said. Outside, I repeated, pushing myself up from my recliner. You mean outside my house? Yes, he chuckled softly. I'm literally in my car right now, parked across from your place. I can leave if it's a bad time. Maybe a younger woman would have played it cool, but at 80 you stop believing you have time to waste. No, I said quickly. Don't you dare leave. Come in. Just give me a minute. I look like I lost a wrestling match with a blanket. He laughed again, and the sound stirred something in me I hadn't felt in a long time. I hurried, as much as an 80-year-old can, to the mirror. The woman in the mirror wasn't the girl who used to ride on the back of Justin's motorcycle. She had wrinkles now, and the kind of hands that told stories all on their own. But there was a kind of softness in her gaze, a quiet strength. Let's go break your heart all over again, shall we? I told her. I opened the front door before he knocked. He stood on my porch, framed by the porch light. Justin at 82, his hair was mostly white now. He was thinner, but his eyes, that warm brown, steady gaze, hadn't changed. They widened when he saw me, and for a second it was like we were both 18 again. Hi, he said. Well, don't just stand there like a salesman. Come in before you catch a cold, I replied. He stepped inside, bringing with him the faint smell of autumn air and old cologne. He looked around my living room. It's nice, he said. Cozy. Very you. I remembered the TV. I was just about to watch something. I blurted out. Netflix. My grandson set it up. Do you want to join me? At my age, he smiled. My other plans were to go home and argue with my recliner. I'd much rather argue with your Netflix. We settled on the couch a respectful distance apart. I handed him the remote. You pick, I said. He squinted at the screen. Oh, look at that. They've got that old movie we loved. Remember the one with the couple who met again after 20 years? I did remember. We watched the opening credits roll, the familiar music filling the room. Kayla and Justin watched the movie and finally began to talk about their past choices. For a while we watched in silence, our shoulders not quite touching. I felt Justin glance at me. Do you ever think about it? He asked softly. Think about what? About us, he said. About how it might have gone if we'd, chosen differently. There it was. The question that had floated through my mind for years. I used to, I admitted. A lot. When the kids were small. When my husband fell asleep in his chair every night. When I heard a motorcycle outside and my heart jumped. He let out a long breath. I thought about you too, he said. More than I should have probably. Every time I passed that old river road. Every time I heard that song you used to sing. Don't you dare start humming it, I warned him. I'm old, Justin. My heart can't take it. On the screen, the couple were arguing, years of unsaid words spilling out. In my mind, I saw us instead. Young, hot-headed, stubborn. The night we broke up came back to me in flashes. I murmured. I never did really apologize for that night. For what? He asked. For choosing your future over a boy with a motorcycle and no plan, I said. For pushing you away. For being too proud to admit I was scared. I thought if I let myself need you and then you left, I'd fall apart. So I left first. I should have fought harder, he said finally. That was my mistake. I let you walk away because I was scared too. I thought about that choice for 60 years, Kayla. I looked at his hands resting on his knees. Very slowly, I reached out and laid my hand over his. His fingers twitched in surprise, then relaxed, curling gently around mine. Felt like two timelines meeting. We were kids, I said. We made the best choices we knew how to make. We built lives. We loved other people. That matters too. It does, he agreed. But sitting here now with you, it's hard not to wonder. The movie played on, the characters growing older. Justin, I said quietly. Why now? Why show up at my house after all this time? We've run into each other at the market, at church. We always say hello. But you never called. Why tonight? Justin explains the reason for his sudden appearance, and they allow themselves a small, tentative touch. He turned his gaze back to the TV, but I could tell he wasn't really seeing it. I went to a funeral last week, he said eventually. An old friend from the army. We were the same age. He was always the strong one, you know, the one you bet on to outlive us all. And then just like that, he was gone. I came home afterward and sat in my empty living room, he went on. I just kept thinking about all the things I never said to people. All the apologies I didn't make. All the feelings I filed away under not practical or too late. And your face kept coming back to me. I realized I didn't want to leave this world with that unfinished. So you called me, I said. So I called you, he nodded. And I parked outside your house like a nervous teenager, wondering if you'd slam the door in my face. I considered it, I teased gently. But then I remembered I have Netflix and I thought, well, if I'm going to let an old heartbreak back into my life, I'd at least like to have something good playing in the background. He laughed and the sound broke the tension. You always did use jokes when you were scared, he said. And you always did talk too much when you felt guilty, I replied. We smiled at each other, and something shifted between us. The air felt warmer, the distance between us shrinking. On the screen, the characters finally admitted they still loved each other. Time is a ruthless editor. I felt Justin's thumb brush lightly over the back of my hand. Just once, a small, careful gesture, as if he were asking a question without words. I didn't pull away. Instead, I leaned back into the couch, letting my shoulder rest just barely against his. We stayed there, shoulder to shoulder, two old hearts quietly admitting that they still remembered how to beat faster. I don't know what this is, I said softly. We've lived whole lives without each other. We've buried people we loved. We ache when it rains. We complain about our pills. And yet here we are. Here we are, he echoed. Maybe it doesn't have to be anything more than that right now. Just two people who still matter to each other sharing a movie. And a blanket, I added, tugging the edge a little closer around us both. Our hands brushed again beneath it, and this time his fingers laced gently with mine. And a blanket, he agreed. Kayla and Justin embraced the possibility of a new beginning, choosing presence over fear. We watched the rest of the movie like that, not saying much, just existing side by side. When the credits finally rolled, Netflix threw up its usual question on the screen. Are you still watching? I let out a soft laugh. That thing is so rude. I'm old, not asleep. Well, are we? Am I what? Still watching, he said. Still paying attention to this, whatever this is. I turned to look at him fully. For a moment, the years between us seemed to shrink. I saw the boy and the man both at once. I am, I said quietly. For the first time in a long time, I really am. Me too. His eyes softened. I didn't know what would happen next. All I knew was that sitting there with Justin, our hands still gently intertwined under the blanket, I didn't feel old in the way I usually did. I felt alive, and that for a woman of 80 is no small thing. The quiet couch, the shared memories, the questions we finally dared to ask, was only the beginning of a new chapter. The morning after our Netflix night felt strangely calm. I didn't expect to see him again so soon. Honestly, I thought he might wake up and second-guess everything. But around 10 there was a gentle knock on my door. When I opened it, Justin stood there holding a small paper bag and wearing a shy smile. "I brought breakfast," he said. "I figured if Netflix didn't chase me away last night, maybe pancakes won't either." I laughed and let him in. We sat at the small table by the window, sharing pancakes that were a little too crisp. We didn't talk about the past this time. Instead, we talked like two people who had something new beginning between them. "How did you sleep?" he asked. "Better than I have in months," I replied honestly. "Me too," he nodded. The silence that followed was gentle, like a blanket pulled over two people who finally understood they didn't need to hurry anymore. We moved to the porch. "You know," he said quietly, "I didn't come last night because I wanted to complicate your life. I just didn't want to leave this world without telling you that you mattered, that you still matter more than I ever said." "You didn't complicate anything," I told him. "You reminded me I'm still here, still capable of feeling connected, of caring." "I don't know where this goes," he said. "I don't expect anything." "I know," I answered. "And that's why I'm not afraid." He smiled, and I felt that flutter again, the quiet kind that feels like possibility rather than risk. Justin reached out his hand, offering it slowly. I took it because it felt right. Simple, gentle, and real. Two old hearts choosing presence over fear. Our fingers intertwined, warm in the cool morning air. We stood like that for a while, just two people who had found each other again after a lifetime. "Would you like to watch something tonight?" he asked softly. I squeezed his hand. "Yes," I said. "I think I would." And just like that, something new began.